Welcome back again to Aranka's Kitchen. I have another family favorite recipe that I'd like to share with you, and it's called Hungarian Layered Savoy Cabbage, RAKOTT KELKÁPOZTA. What you will need for this recipe is 1 large head of Savoy cabbage, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then for the meat mixture you'll need 1/2 kilogram of lean ground beef, 1 medium red onion. Today I've used the white sweet onion, medium-sized sweet onion, but you can use the red onion also. 1 teaspoon of sweet paprika, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of vegetable oil. So that's for the meat mixture. For the topping, you need 1 cup of sour cream, and I'm using the low-fat sour cream. 4 teaspoons of vegetable oil. You can also use canola or sunflower oil, whatever choice of oil that you want to use. 1 cup of grated cheese of your choice, and today I'm using the skim milk cheese, low-fat skim milk mozzarella cheese, and I've grated it down finely. So what I did was I boiled water with 1 teaspoon of salt in a large stock pot. So if you've got a really large stock pot, use it and fill it up with water, add the salt. And then I cut a large head of cabbage in half. And the reason why I use a large head of cabbage is because when it cooks, it shrinks. The size will shrink, so that when you cut it up, it's going to look a lot in a bowl like this large bowl. This large bowl was really filled with the cabbage. Now, this is what is the result of that head of large cabbage. So what I did was I cut it up into bite-sized pieces, and then I rinsed it out in the colander, and then put it into a stock pot, cooked it al dente, sort of half cooked. So there's the cabbage that you will need for the layered Savoy cabbage recipe. So I used a colander to drain off the water from the cabbage, and I set it aside, and this is what's set aside, is the cooked cabbage. Tip: place the colander on the top of the stock pot so that the remaining water drains. Well, I discovered that my colander wasn't big enough for the rim, so I took this bowl and I started spooning it into using a ladle. And I also have this really big spoon with holes in it, so whatever leftover leaves were remaining in the water, I would put it into this bowl. And the reason being is that you have to be really careful with hot water. The stock pot is really heavy, and you don't want to be spilling boiled water on you. So that's just a safety tip that I would recommend that you do when you are cooking up the cabbage. And then let the water cool off on the stove, and then you can dump out the water after. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the meat mixture. So I'm going to go over to the stove, and I am going to saute the onions and the ground beef, brown the ground beef, and put all the ingredients needed for the meat mixture. So what I'll do is I'll come back, and what I've done is I've got a small camera. It's a GoPro camera, and I'm going to be filming the actual sauteing of and the cooking of the meat mixture. So that's kind of like a new addition to my filming here, is that my husband bought me a GoPro Hero 5, and so I'm going to be using that to continue my filming at the stove. Before that, if you noticed, I didn't really have a camera to do that, so I'm going to try that out, and I'm going to go over to the stove, and I'll be back, and it will be added to my video so you can see the different filming techniques too. So I'll be back to show you how that's the browning of the ground beef and the sauteing of the onions in my large fry pan at my stove. So. to Arinka's Kitchen. I'm preparing a favorite family recipe of my mother and grandmother's. It is called Hungarian Layered Savoy Cabbage, RAKOTT KELKÁPOZTA. So what I've done is I've cooked up some cabbage, and then I've sauteed some meat mixture, lean ground beef, medium onion, paprika, salt, ground black pepper, and a teaspoon of not vegetable oil, but the olive oil, cold pressed olive oil today. That's what I'm using. You can use any oil of your choosing for cooking, for sauteing the meat, and for the actual topping recipe. So what I've got here is a sort of like a heat-resistant glass dish, and I'm beginning to layer the ingredients. So what I've done is I've taken part of the Savoy cabbage, and I've evenly distributed the first layer. So there's going to be about 3 layers here. So I'm just going to take a fork and I'm just going to evenly spread it on the bottom of this heat-resistant dish. These are great for baking stuff like this. So I use it for a lot of things. So, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the meat mixture, which is on the stove. Over here, the sizzling. I browned the meat, and I've already done some filming there. So, like I said, I've used the GoPro, so you'll have some idea of the filming. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this meat mixture. It's not entirely cooked. I've already preheated the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, getting it ready. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take half of the meat mixture, and I'm going to add it and sprinkle it onto, evenly distribute it onto the second layer. I'm just going to do that. This spoon is great for doing stuff with. I really like it. Okay, so I've kind of divided it in the frying pan here in half approximately. I'm going to sprinkle this on that layer. Smelling great already. And then I'm going to take some of my cabbage and I'm going to sprinkle it on the top. So I'm doing a layered. Sprinkle some more of the cabbage on top. And then I'm going to take more of the meat and I'll put it on top of the cabbage, so it's going to be layered. It's almost like a casserole in a way. It's a fantastic dish. It's smelling great. So there's 2 layers of meat, and then there's the 3 layers actually of cabbage. And then we're going to put that on the top, and then there's something else that goes, and that's the topping mixture, and I'll show you what that's made of. Just sort of arrange it. And then this goes on the top. Sprinkle on the top of your meat dish. And it's Savoy cabbage. Savoy cabbage is great for recipes like this because it's tender. So we kind of spread it around like that. So there's layers of it. And then you can serve it with mashed potatoes. Meat there. Okay. Put that aside. Now we've got that. there, and then now I've got some grated, a cup of grated mozzarella, skim milk mozzarella cheese, so I've grated it finely. And then I got about 4 tablespoons of oil. And I'm just going to go over to the fridge and get my sour cream. This is low-fat sour cream. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to set this aside here. What I'm going to do is I am going to mix in the cheese, grated cheese into the sour cream. So this is going to go on the top. And then my oil, a bit of oil there. And I'm using olive oil. And I'm going to mix this. And this is going to go on the top of my Savoy cabbage. And I've already preheated the oven to 350 degrees, and you bake it for about let's say about 50 minutes. So I'm just going to bring this back, and I'm going to show you. Sort of make dollops, and then you can just spread it evenly after. I kind of do little dollops. So the cheese will melt into the very economical recipe. You know, out of half a kilogram of beef, you could feed a large family with this. My grandmother would grind her own meat. She'd buy a piece of meat from the butcher, and then she'd have her own grinder at home, and she'd freshly grind her beef. My husband bought a meat grinder, actually, for grinding beef or pork or whatever. We've used it already to make some spaghetti sauce. So, but she used a hand one, not the one that I've got, the electric one, but worked just as well. So I'm just going to spread this evenly on the top, and this is going to melt inside it'll probably be brown, a little bit brown, so just make little dollops at the top, and then spread it on the top evenly. And there is a copy of my recipe too, if you choose to use a recipe instead of my video. So I think my stove is preheated now, ready for me to put this in. And then I'm going to steam some rice. I have a rice steamer, so I'm going to steam some rice to go with it. But when this is all done, I will show you what this great recipe looks like. And I hope that you enjoy preparing this for your family and friends. It is very filling recipe, very hearty recipe. We've got very cold weather right now where I live. I've had a lot of snow, so this is a great sort of a comfort food recipe for the winter. It's a great winter recipe too. No, you could use it, make it in the summer too, but it's a great recipe for winter. If there's cold rain, wherever you are, rainy, cold, rainy season, if you don't have any snow. It's a great recipe, and it's healthy too. Lots of vitamins in it. So that's what it looks like, and I will show you when it comes out of the oven. So I'll be back, and I will show you what this delicious recipe looks like fresh out of the oven. Hungarian layered Savoy cabbage. RAKOTT KELKÁPOZTA. Welcome back again to Arinka's Kitchen. I had in the oven a recipe, family favorite recipe, Hungarian layered Savoy cabbage, Rakott Kelkáposzta. So what I'd like to do is show you what this great recipe looks like fresh out of the oven. So it's, as you can see, it's sort of browned on the edges. And so you've got layers of Savoy cabbage, meat, ground beef, lean ground beef, onions, paprika, salt, ground black pepper, and the topping was sour cream, vegetable oil, or today I use the olive oil, cold pressed olive oil, and some grated low-fat skim milk, mozzarella cheese. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of cut into the recipe like this, and then make sort of a square like that. And then I'm going to spoon it out onto the plate. Make sure to get the juices. And you can cut bigger pieces depending on who you're serving it to. And then what I've done is I've steamed some rice in a rice maker. So I've got a rice maker here, and I'm just going to spoon in some rice to go with it. Any kind of rice that you want to serve with it. And I put a little bit of Vegeta, MSG-free Vegeta in it, butter, water, and I used sort of a basmati rice today. You can serve it with mashed potatoes. And I'm just going to show you this again. So I've cut into the recipe so you can see the meat inside of it. And it's a great recipe. It's sort of a very it's like a comfort recipe on a cold winter's day, or a rainy day, cold winter's rainy day, or a summer day, or spring. You could serve it any time of the year. So I'm just going to move this aside here. And I'm going to show you what this looks like on a plate. So there's the rice. You can actually sprinkle some parsley on it to give it some color, dried parsley or paprika. So, see what I've got in my cupboard here. You can actually put a little bit of dill on there if you want. Sprinkle that on there. And paprika. Give it some color. And parsley on your potatoes. So give it a little bit of color and flavor. And there you have a very hearty favorite family recipe. So I hope you enjoy serving this to your family and friends. And I'll be preparing many more recipes. My next recipe is walnut cake, and that's going to be sent over to everyone through the website next week. So it's a walnut cake, so like a walnut torte, and it's got the walnut filling, cream filling inside of it. and also I'll be doing a Hungarian sausage recipe and all kinds of different types of recipes that I'm going to be sharing with all of you. So if you have any family or friends that would be interested in subscribing to me, that would be great. And if you could share these recipes to family, friends, co-workers, whoever you think would be interested in seeing my videos or learning about Hungarian cooking. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me at irene@irinkaskitchen.com or irinkaskitchen.com. Until next time, bon appetit, jó étvágyat!